A little after sunrise today, the boat you see here behind me, the 100-foot pleasure yacht Code 3 West, was towed into Hangzhou Bay by the container ship Maersk Innsmouth, which had come across the boat drifting aimlessly in the middle of the Pacific Ocean 1 week ago. When it was found, the yacht was empty except for the body of one man and one survivor, identified as Victor Rosales, who is now in the custody of Shanghai police. I have here with me the captain of the Maersk Innsmouth, Ilya Golikov. Captain, can you tell me what happened?
Yes, of course. We sighted her, and it looked like she was abandoned. Not under power of any kind. We boarded, and inside there was wreckage. It was very nice and expensive vessel, but everything inside was destroyed. Empty. No people. Then, in a cabin, we found there were two. The one man who was dead for some time, and the second man alive, but not, he would not respond, And he was holding a small green statue.
Holding a statue?
Yes, like some kind of monster creature carved from green stone. He would not let it go.
From Folk Process, we are Keeping the Bones, the podcast that reimagines and remixes classic weird tales and horror fiction into stories set today. I'm Jesse Keller, and you are listening to the final episode of our first season. If you've been enjoying this series, please do subscribe or follow wherever you're listening, and let the world know you like our show by giving us 5-star ratings, good reviews, sharing on whatever social media you can, and telling your friends, family, co-workers, casual acquaintances about us. Please help spread the word. Today, we're bringing you the conclusion of our 3-part series inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's classic story, The Call of Cthulhu. If you haven't heard parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend hitting pause here and catching up on those before continuing this episode, which is The Call of Cthulhu Part 3, Madness from the Sea. I almost missed the YouTube link to the Shanghai news report. There were hundreds of URLs in my uncle's files, and I had gotten tired of watching yet another person talk into their webcam about some conspiracy or other. But I did click it, and I can now honestly say, I kind of wish I hadn't. There are some images you wish you could unsee, and some knowledge you wish you could unknow. But that's not how seeing and knowing work. I was still focused on the gruesome cult meeting in Florida back in 2003, and the cover-up John LaGrasse outlined in our last episode. But everywhere I turned, my investigation was hitting dead ends. That's when I happened to be scrolling through Professor George Gamble Angel's thumb drive folders yet again, and randomly started clicking on his YouTube links. One of the first ones I followed went to a video from a Shanghai-based English-language news channel, News Daily Shanghai, and was dated January 20th, 2021, with the title, Mystery Yacht Found at Sea. The thumbnail showed a big, modern motor yacht. Not a massive mega yacht, but a big one and newish looking. Definitely a boat for a multi-millionaire, though probably not a billionaire. I clicked play and watched the captain of the Maersk Innsmouth describe happening upon the Code 3 West, adrift in the middle of the South Pacific, with only one living man and one dead body aboard. The body was that of Justin Kauhane. The living man was Victor Rosales. He was alive but unresponsive and was found clutching a monstrous idol carved from green stone.
It was like no stone I've seen, green and black with sparkling bits. Very ugly.
And how was it that you found this yacht?
You remember the storm last week? Did that come here too?
Of course, record-breaking rainfall, heavy winds, second in a row.
Yes, second big storm. We were hit very hard, some waves almost 20 meters. And then, when the storm was over, 11th of January, we were far off course, about 1,000 kilometers south of Tahiti. And there it was, on the horizon, this yacht. Pure luck.
The man you rescued, Victor Rosales, has declined to speak to us, but I understand he did tell you how he got there. Is that right?
Sort of, yes. After we brought him on board, we gave him some water, some food. He was very badly dehydrated. And after a couple of days, he did speak to us, yes.
And what did he say?
That he was not from this yacht. He was not crew on this yacht. He said he was deck boss on a fishing vessel. They were 10 days to sea, having a good catch, and then the first storm came. And pow! They were a long way off course.
After the earthquake, the first storm.
On December 31st, they met this vessel. He told us his fishing crew was invited on board to celebrate New Year. With all these rich people, a big party, people very drunk, many drugs, but soon after they were attacked.
Attacked? By who?
The yacht, the people at this party, he said attacked him and the fishing crew.
The people on the yacht attacked them? Attacked Mr. Rosales and the...
Yes, this is what he said, yes. It was a big fight, many people killed, all of the yacht people and also the fishing captain and 3 men. The fishing boat was, I don't know, I think sunk or left behind. I don't know. The yacht had some damage too. 8 of the fishing crew survived and tried to sail the yacht for home.
8 survived? We were told Rosales was the only survivor. And then there's the dead man aboard the yacht.
What he says is they saw a small island and that 6 men died there. The 2 of them escaped the island. Then the other man died.
What island?
I don't know. There are no islands there. This is just what he said.
Did he say what happened to the others?
He said only they fell into deep, like a pit. He and the other man got back to the yacht and tried to get her underway, just the 2 of them. Then the second storm. He said when the storm began, the other man was alive. And this was all he told us. He said this is all he remembered.
A very strange story.
Very strange, very.
Well, thank you for your time, Captain Ilya Golikov of the Maersk Innsmouth.
Of course.
The survivor of this strange event, Victor Rosales, is speaking with police now regarding the incident. So far, they've released no further information regarding what happened or the yacht Code 3 West. NDS is continuing to follow the story and will bring you updates in the days to come.
My searches came up with just one more YouTube video from News Daily Shanghai covering this story. The thumbnail for that video showed a small statue made of green and black stone, with a tentacled face and bat-like wings, hunched over on a pedestal, its clawed hands grasping its knees. I clicked on the thumbnail image of the now familiar human cephalopod hybrid and watched what, from all I can tell, is the last media report on this story.
Yesterday, News Daily Shanghai reported that the container ship Maersk Innsmouth discovered the pleasure yacht Code 3 West adrift in the South Pacific, and on board, the crew found 1 man dead and 1 living, in a delusional state. Clutching the sculpture you see here, which is now being examined at the Shanghai Museum, the man, Victor Rosales, was released from police custody today without charges. Rosales and the dead man who police identified as Justin Kauhane, were both crew members on the Emma, a Hawaii-based fishing boat that had been reported missing and presumed lost at sea. Police say that there are no witnesses and no evidence that Rosales committed any crime, but the investigation is ongoing. The pleasure yacht Rosales was found on Code 3 West, as far as we can tell, is registered in Gibraltar and was last seen in port in Dunedin, New Zealand. We have not been able to find out who owns the yacht, but sources in Dunedin report that it was often seen in that port and was known for its wild parties. Celebrities and well-known people were often seen on Code 3 West, including American pop star Danny Shores, who mentioned being aboard Code 3 West in a 2019 Instagram post.
What's up, everybody? Danny Shores here. Code 3 West here, calling in. I got all the boys, all the girls, mostly the girls. We got our flippy floppies. We got all the pissed off. We are popping bottles and having a good time. Come on now, let's go.
We sent a message asking Mr. Shores for a comment, and his representative sent this statement. Mr. Shores attended a brief event several years ago on the yacht in question, but does not have any further information on the owners or the things you've reported on. Otago Harbor officials in Dunedin told News Daily Shanghai that Code 3 West was last seen there in December, but departed very quickly on the 11th of that month, and was not seen in port again until the Maersk Innsmouth towed the boat into the port of Shanghai yesterday.
December 11th. The 10th in San Diego, on the other side of the international date line, was the day of the massive earthquake in the middle of the Pacific. My mind raced with the connections. In 2007, Deputy John LaGrasse breaks up a gruesome gathering on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Cult members mention Cthulhu and Great Old Ones in their interviews, and the Old Ones city of R'lyeh. Early the next year, LaGrasse shows up at a meeting of the Archaeological Society with the green stone idol, the origin of which baffled the world's leading archaeologists and anthropologists, my Uncle George included, except for one who recognized it from a bizarre and ancient tradition among the nobility of a small British island. A decade and a half later, on December 11th, 2020, a massive earthquake rocks the South Pacific. The Code 3 West immediately rushes out of port in Dunedin, and almost simultaneously, Khadijah Wilcox creates her dream sculpture, which she leaves the clay still damp on Professor Angel's doorstep the next morning. He immediately begins to keep meticulous records of Khadijah's dreams and those of other artists and people around the world. At some point, Code 3 West encounters the fishing boat Emma and lures her crew aboard the yacht with promises of a New Year's party that, according to Victor Rosales, turns to horrible violence. After the battle, as Victor Rosales and the survivors of Emma try to navigate the Code 3 West through storms, the dreams continue around the world until the crew lands on an island that exists on no maps, and where, in the story Rosales told the crew of Maersk Innsmouth, 6 of 8 men die somehow. Right at this point, Khadijah Wilcox begins experiencing her episode.
Here it is again. It must be miles high.
A week-long waking nightmare, which ends abruptly on January 8th, the day of the second record-breaking storm in the Pacific. Wait, dreams and nightmares. What was it Gina Hedges, the Florida cult leader, had said about dreams?
They dream to us. They dream us the methods of their return.
That was all there was to my uncle's research. But it was enough to convince me his death on the San Diego docks after a bump by the pinch-faced, over-tanned yachtsman described by Professor DaCosta was not from natural causes. There was something deeply, powerfully unnatural at play here. I was becoming obsessed. What had really happened to my uncle, Professor George Gamble Angel? What had happened on Code 3 West, to the New Year's revelers, and to Victor Rosales and the fishing crew? How did all of that connect to the bizarre, violent cult that seemed to worship this Cthulhu and the Great Old Ones? This was an incredible story, I thought. And I'm not going to lie, a big part of me was thinking it would make an incredible podcast. Well, you can be the judge of whether that's true. But given all I've learned, I now wish I'd never opened my uncle's files. Never talked to Khadija Wilcox or John LaGrasse. And I certainly wish I had never set out in the summer of 2023, first to Shanghai, then to New Zealand, and eventually to Honolulu, to pick up where Professor Angel left off. But that's what I did. And now, I feel I have no choice but to tell the story. Hi there, listeners. Just a quick interruption. As we finish up this first season of Keeping the Bones, I want to say all of us at Folk Process are very proud of what we've done, and it's been a hell of an undertaking. So far, everyone working on it, actors, editors, musicians, visual artists, me, we've all been doing it for free and covering our costs, the website, hosting, all of that, out of pocket. We'd really appreciate it if you'd kick in a little support our way. Folk Process is a collective, and once we cover our costs, if we're lucky enough to have anything left over, we have a plan to share out any profit among the artists, and hopefully enable all of us to make more art. To help us out, head over to keepingthebones.com and click on Follow and Support. You'll find links to our merch store, our virtual tip jar, and our Patreon account, where if you subscribe for $5 a month or more, you'll get all the latest news and updates on our progress as we work on what's next. Thanks. In my day job, I'm a community college professor on a 10-month contract, which leaves me summers free. So last summer, I booked a ticket and flew to Shanghai. I saw the Code 3 West still sitting there in the harbor. Its owners have still not been identified, and nobody has been reported missing in connection with it. The Chinese government plans to soon put it up for auction. I also went to the Shanghai Museum and managed to speak to the head of collection care and conservation, Dr. Dai Yu Lin.
哦，在那边。好，谢谢。Follow me this way.
Okay. Over here?
Yes.
Aha. Wow. So this is it.
Yes.
Huh. Wow, it's smaller than I expected it to be.
The Cthulhu idol was less than a foot tall, but I still felt a sense of menace radiating from it. The blank, staring eyes above the intricate mass of winding stone tentacles, they almost seemed alive, like the eyes were watching, waiting, like they knew a terrible secret I hadn't yet guessed.
The stone really is very unique with the way that it has all of the green and the black mixed together and those shiny flecks, you know.
That really is a mystery. It's all a mystery. The design, the dating, we have no clues to its age. And the stone is still completely unidentified. We've had a lot of different geologists take samples. So far, it's like nothing we know on Earth.
like nothing on earth. When Dr. Lin said those words, I thought of what Gina Hedges had said in her interview with the St. Simon County Sheriff's investigators.
They came from beyond the stars and brought their idols with them.
I caught a flight to Dunedin, New Zealand, in hopes of finding out more about the yacht Code 3 West. I spent weeks asking around the waterfront, at the local bars, on the docks, the harbor master's office. No one I spoke to agreed to be recorded, but some told me vaguely that very important people, both locals and foreign nationals, were known to be guests on the yacht, which roamed the globe, but called at Dunedin every summer. Nobody knew or was willing to speculate who might own Code 3 West, but one Maori fishing captain, who asked that I not use his name, spoke of a connection between the yacht's guests and exclusive events held at a local construction magnate's mansion, during which neighbors complained of strange shouts and noises from behind the gated estate's walls. But more often than not, my questions were met with silence, or with the suggestion that it was a bad idea to keep asking. I was hitting dead ends. But there was one more lead I hadn't followed. Victor Rosales wasn't hard to find online. His Facebook profile shows date night pictures with his wife, shots of him surfing, the usual food pics, as well as photos of Victor working aboard the tuna boat Emma, hauling in lines, eating in the galley, and just gazing out at the endless blue horizon. In almost every shot, Victor has a huge smile on his face. But in a photo from May of 2021, the smile is gone, and his dark hair has turned almost completely white. That's the last image posted of Victor. The page is labeled as a memorial, with dozens of posts from family and friends. One from his mom says, "Miss you so much." Victor Rosales had passed away in October of 2021, less than a year after returning home. I managed to get in contact with a few of Victor's friends and family, but everyone I spoke to said they barely saw him in the days between his return in February and his death in October of 2021. They knew nothing more than what had been reported. The only person I couldn't get in touch with, despite repeated emails, phone calls, and Facebook messages, was Victor's wife, Tina. Tina seemed to be the only person to have spent significant time with Victor after he was rescued from the Code 3 West in 2021. So I found her address and booked a ticket to Honolulu. Hello. Are you Tina?
Uh-huh.
Tina, so do you mind if I record this? My name's Jesse Keller, and I've kind of been reporting. I've been researching a lot about what happened aboard that fishing boat Emma that your husband worked on, and I was just really hoping that you might talk to me.
I don't know. I don't really want to, There's really not much to say.
I flew all the way over here from the mainland. I'm only here for like a day. Do you think that we could briefly...
I don't know.
So I've been, like, for the whole last year, I've been researching this story, and I think that there might be more going on with what happened to Victor than this, like, public story that people know about. And my main goal is I want to set the record straight about Victor. And I was really hoping that you could help me do that. Please.
Okay, I gotta be at work by 10. but I can talk for a minute.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
He was definitely different afterwards. He wasn't the same Victor. He used to be really fun and outgoing, always down for a good time, you know? But when he got back from all the stuff that happened, he didn't want to go out. He didn't want to go surf. He just stayed inside.
Yeah, I saw on Facebook that he loved to surf. I saw a lot of surfing photos.
Yeah, I really love that about him, you know? But then after a while, he was just on the computer, on the iPad, you know? I don't really know. Mostly just reading stuff on Facebook and Twitter and all that. I think he was really depressed.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. And that's how he eventually...
No, he didn't kill himself, if that's...
Oh. You know, because I have been trying to figure out what actually happened to him. What can you tell me? How did he pass away?
You know, I still don't really have answers about that. I was hoping you might, but... So, every once in a while, I could talk to him, talk him into leaving the house, get some fresh air, go for a walk, but mostly he said he wanted to go alone. So one day he was out there.
He would walk alone frequently?
Yeah. It was something that he really liked to do. I guess he needed to clear his head, and, you know, for me, I talk a lot, so he just needed a moment, you know? But anyways, he'd be out there walking along the boardwalk by the docks, and I guess they say something fell out of a window, like a bundle of papers or some kind is what they said, and it sort of knocked him down. And some people from a boat saw it and ran over to help him.
Some people from a boat ran over to help?
Yeah, I think they said it was a yacht belonging to one of the guys. The police said they work for the military in some way, I think.
The people that helped him worked for the military in some way?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember, really, but they rushed over and helped him up, and he was okay. They said he wasn't hurt, but a minute later, he just passed out. He never woke up. Officially, they said it was a heart attack, but Vic never had any heart problems I knew about. It just didn't make sense. But then I guess none of it made sense to me.
So, did he ever talk to you about the things that happened while he was out at sea, while the boat was after the storm?
No, never, no. I mean, he really barely talked at all during that time. And when he did, he never mentioned it. And I didn't ask. Maybe I should have. I don't know. All I know is from what was reported and the crazy stuff that he wrote.
He wrote about it?
Not about it. No, it's just I think he was really going off the deep end at the time.
Do you still have his writing? Do you think that I could have a look at it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't want people remembering him as this crazy guy, you know? He was really sweet, funny.
Yeah, I don't think that Victor was crazy, and I think that there is something going on. I think he had some experiences. He had some very extreme experiences, and I really do think that the words that he wrote, whatever form they take, might be able to help us figure out what happened to him and what else is going on here. So I really would appreciate it. Do you think you could?
Yeah, you know.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah.
Tina dug around in a closet and gave me a spiral notebook full of Victor's neat, blocky handwriting. A detailed account of his ordeal at sea, much more detailed than the story to the Shanghai police. And if I had known nothing else, I may well have shared Tina's assessment of the contents as a delusional rant. But combined with my uncle's research, and with all I've learned, I have no choice but to think every word Victor Rosales wrote is true. After leaving Tina, I went back to my hotel by Sunset Beach on the north shore of Oahu and read Victor's notebook from cover to cover. And by the time I had finished, the sound of the crashing surf, which I had found so soothing on the previous night, seemed to take on a violent character, like the roar of some massive creature. It unsettled me so much that I checked out and found a new hotel farther inland, where I couldn't hear the endless breaking waves. Victor Rosales saw the city, and he saw the thing. But fortunately for him, he seems to have known nothing about the cult, which has for centuries, millennia, eons perhaps, hoped, waited, and worked for the day when the stars are right, and a quake big enough to raise that sunken city back above the face of the deep and into the sun and the air, where its dead, dreaming occupants can awaken, revive, and rule. Victor's account does ramble and repeat itself, reading sometimes like the inner monologue of a mind in an obsessive fugue state. I've lightly edited and excerpted the main narrative, but the words are all his. The broad strokes of what he told the police are repeated here. The tuna boat Emma leaving port, the earthquake, and then the storm that blew them off course. Their encounter with the Code 3 West on New Year's Eve. We've asked actor Nicolas Galvante to read what comes next.
We thought it was crazy luck meeting the yacht. We already spent Christmas at sea and knew we weren't getting home by New Year's. We were going to have our own sad little party on the Emma, but then they showed up, radioed us, and asked, did we want to come aboard? Everyone was so cool at first, but I felt weird in my work clothes. Everyone on the yacht was dressed up really fancy, not in suits or tuxes, but everything looked very expensive. They gave us champagne and good food. I'm sober, so I didn't have any. I noticed on the deck there was some kind of weird rigging stowed under tarps, like a scaffold that could be set up. The sun went down, and some of our crew who had the champagne started to act weird, kind of sleepy. That's when they attacked us. Some pulled guns and said to our guys to lay down. We were outnumbered at least 2-1, and many of our guys were drugged. I think by the champagne. They had handcuffs and shackles, and they grabbed and hogtied Kalani and Dave and some others, I think. People are all acting crazy, yelling and screaming like maybe on some kind of drugs. The rest of us started to run. Captain Charlie and me and 4 others got to the galley and blocked ourselves in. But we knew there was only one way out. We got some knives and things and busted out. Captain Charlie got shot, but we managed to jump one of them who had a gun. We fought back hard. It was crazy, like a war zone, or like a movie. People were shooting and fighting with knives and fists. When we got back on deck, Kalani and Dave and also Chase and Ismail were all dead, with their guts torn out and tied to the scaffold thing, and Emma was sinking. They had sunk her somehow. We found Justin and the Mahmoud brothers still alive, and we set them loose. Then we really started to turn the tables and beat those psychos. Some of them just jumped over the gunnels and into the water. Finally, we were the last men standing. They were all gone or dead, and it was just me and 7 of our crew left alive. So we buried the dead at sea and tried to get the yacht underway ourselves. Someone had destroyed all the communications and tracker and navigation systems, so we were navigating by the stars the old-fashioned way. Salazar sighted something sticking out of the ocean a ways off. We did not know what it was. We thought it was a ship maybe, so we made a course for it. When we got closer, we saw a tall stone pillar sticking up out of the sea. And then we could see the pillar was on top of an island, like a mountain rising out of the sea. We dropped anchor off the island and went ashore. Where we landed was very flat basalt rock, covered with seaweed and muck, very slippery. There were straight lines through the rock, and it almost looked like giant blocks, like a brick wall, but each brick was 50 feet long.
Giant blocks. Rosales clearly had no idea of what this uncharted island was. But how could it be anything other than Relier, the colossal, pre-human city built by the Great Old Ones, sunken under the waves, but heaved up by the earthquake in December of 2020? The mountain Rosales describes, with its monolith spire on top, seems to be a single building, maybe the tallest in that vast city that still lay mostly sunken under the Pacific Ocean. Is it possible that the towering structure was the mausoleum where the high priest, Great Cthulhu, is interred, dead but dreaming, sending his nightmare visions around the globe? Victor doesn't describe the structures in detail, but he does write of huge, monstrous statues and wall carvings bigger than skyscrapers. There's even a rough sketch, and to my eyes, it looks very similar to the relief Khadijah Wilcox sculpted in her sleep and showed to my uncle that December. This is where Rosales' account of the vast expanses of slimy, muck-covered stone become hard to interpret. I can understand that this would make Tina Rosales believe her husband had lost touch with reality. But I believe Victor and his crew stumbled on a reality that billions of years of evolution on Earth have not equipped our senses and our minds to comprehend. I confess my own mind has trouble making sense of it, but I don't doubt that this was their true experience.
Justin said, "Let's climb up and look at the staircase." I asked, "What do you mean, up?" He said the ground was going up towards a staircase, and I could see the staircase, but the ground looked flat to me, and when we walked, it felt flat too. He said it felt like a steep climb, and all the angles and corners looked wrong. They shouldn't have come together, or they did. Zulfikar said the walls looked like they bowed out, but Ishak said they bowed in. To me, it looked like both at the same time. It made my eyes hurt to look at. Then Salazar, who was up by the pillar, shouted to us. At the bottom was a gigantic door. That's how it looked, because it had a frame all around it and a lintel on the top. But the lintel stone was hundreds of feet long, and the door is probably an acre in size. There were carvings everywhere that looked like squids or octopuses. We couldn't agree whether it was flat on the ground like a trapdoor or tilted up. Ishak slid down to get a closer look, and when he stepped out in the door, it started to move. He got back to where we were, and the whole thing swung diagonally, and it just disappeared into the darkness. Even though it was daytime, you couldn't see anything inside the giant hole, just darkness. The sunlight wouldn't go in, and it seemed like the door frame and the stones around started getting darker, like the darkness was coming out instead of the light going in. The sun even got darker over our heads. A horrible, rotting smell came out, and Justin said he heard something like sloshing water. We all listened. We saw it come out of the darkness. We saw it. We saw.
Rosales' writing becomes shaky at this point and hard to read. He writes in fragments, seemingly unable to bring himself to fully describe the thing. He says that it was slithering, flapping, writhing, that it was a mountain that walked. Two of the crew inexplicably fell dead the instant it appeared, Rosales says, and he believes it was from pure terror. Another three were, he says, scooped up in one giant claw. As the others ran for the boat, Rosales writes, his crewmate Zulfikar Mahmoud slipped and fell.
Zulfi slid upwards and fell into an angle that jutted out, not in, and he disappeared like it was a pit. Justin and me got to the Zodiac, and all the others were gone. The thing was sliding towards us, like a landslide or an avalanche coming down the rocks. We got the motor started and went for the yacht as fast as we could, as it slid into the water, which made a wave that almost swamped us.
There it was. The stars were right, and the mountain-sized thing, Great Cthulhu, had been revived and released from his tomb. A group of hapless fishermen had done by accident what the secret cult had been trying to accomplish since the dawn of humanity. Victor Rosales and Justin Kauhane slammed the yacht's throttle to full in an attempt to escape, but the massive creature was faster. It was overtaking them. There seemed to be no escape.
So I did the only thing I could think of. I brought her about, straight at it, and went full throttle. All I could see were tentacles, too many to count, all around, grabbing and sticking to the hull and the windows. But we were going fast. We hit it hard, and it completely burst, like a bloated, rotten fish in the sun. There was nothing left but a gigantic cloud that smelled like rotten dead meat. I gagged and puked, but Justin just laughed and kept yelling, "We got him! We got him!" We got out of the cloud into very choppy seas. I looked back, and the cloud was getting smaller, like it was condensing, reforming. We went top speed away as the waves got bigger and bigger, and soon we were in a terrible storm. Justin kept laughing the whole time as we crashed through the gigantic swells. Each one was like a monster coming for us. The breakers on top were like things with bat wings. I thought they were going to fly down and grab us. We almost capsized several times, and I almost wish we did, so I would stop seeing monsters and hearing Justin laughing, and I could just forget everything.
The next thing Victor Rosales wrote in his journal was about realizing he was aboard a new ship, the Maersk Innsmouth. Clutching a stone idol, authorities would later say seemed to be part of an altar on the yacht Code 3 West. He writes about Shanghai, about his interview with the police, his return to Hawaii, and then the story trails off. I put the spiral notebook in the back of my uncle's locking file cabinet, alongside his drive of videos and notes, and the clay bas-relief Khadijah Wilcox had given him. Now that I'm finished recording and producing this story, a part of me wants to just delete all the files, erase the drives, drill through them and throw them away. But I've come this far. I feel I have to publish it. Every day now I'm on guard. I don't go near docks or seafronts. If I see a middle-aged guy with a leathery tan, the boat guy type, as Professor DaCosta phrased it, I cross the street to avoid him. I'm afraid I'm going to bump into a stranger and that the next step I will take will be my last. Because he's alive, or not alive, I don't know. But even if he's dead once again, Great Cthulhu is dreaming, down beneath the face of the deep, in his sunken city of Rillier, dreaming to his cult. And I can't help but wonder, how many of the rest of us are hearing the echoes of those dreams. I thought of Abney and of Yves de Corneau, of the president of the Lost Club, and the woman who fell dead in the train tunnel, of Steiner in Vietnam, and, well, this is hard to say, but I think of dreams I've been having, that I'm still having. The stars may still be right, or if they're not, they will be again one day. And as Gina Hedges quoted from that ancient book, "That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons, even death may die." Thank you very much for listening to Season 1 of Keeping the Bones. It's going to take some time for us to put Season 2 together. Our process is a bit more intensive than a lot of podcasts out there. And if you miss us while we're away, I just want to let everyone know that Season 1 was consciously written to reward repeat listens. We've worked in themes, through lines, Easter eggs that might not be apparent until you've listened to all of the other episodes. So while you're waiting for Season 2, if you find yourself looking for something to listen to, head back to Episode 1, hit play, give the season another go, and please hit us up on social media to let us know what you think. Today's episode, the last in our 3-part series inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's classic tale, The Call of Cthulhu, was adapted and produced by me, Jesse Keller, with big help from Folk Process co-producer Abby Watt. Abby has some other fun projects brewing too, so stay subscribed to this feed for updates on that and on Season 2. Besides me, the voices you heard today were Jing and Arthur Beecher, David Bonet, Zhen Jia, Heidi Dotimas, and Nicolas Galvante. All of our music is by Son of Lone Cat, which honestly is also me. We'll be back as soon as we can.